The V-2 rocket was the first rocket to ever reach the edge of space, and in many ways, it started the space race. Hey, I'm John Williams, and I'm at the National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. I want to show you the V-2 rocket. The V-2 was the first rocket ever to reach the edge of space. It was developed in World War II in Germany by Wernher von Braun. After the war, von Braun was brought to America, where he helped us develop the Redstone rocket. And this rocket would end up launching our first satellite and our first man into space. So the brilliant engineer Wernher von Braun developed the V-2 for Germany in World War II. Germany would end up launching the V-2 3,000 times against England, France, and Belgium. After the war, the United States and the Soviet Union clamored to get all the technology and expertise they could. The Soviet Union got engineers and they grabbed as many V-2s as they could, and they developed their own version, the R1, which was basically a V-2 copy. And it would allow them to develop way bigger and way more powerful ballistic missiles in the future and advance their space program. The Americans got Wernher von Braun, and his expertise allowed us to launch V-2s from the United States, which would carry experiments and took the first pictures of space. And the V-2 would end up making us develop the Redstone rocket, and then up to the Saturn and the Saturn V, and then all the way to the moon. So if you ever think about anything space and rocketry, it's because of this rocket that everything happened and why we went to the moon. Now let's take a closer look at what makes the V-2 itself. The V-2 is a very complex rocket, as you can see right here, for its time. If you look at the bottom of the rocket, you can see these control vanes, which would have guided the thrust of the rocket, and these air control vanes. And then you have the engine right here, and if you look up, you can see what I just said. The outer fins and the inner control vanes. And those are the exact type of control vanes that are on the Redstone rocket. You can actually tell what type of rocket it is because you look under there, you can see those red jet vanes right there. If you see those on a rocket, you know it's a Redstone. The direct descendant of this rocket. Amazing. And then you have most of the internal parts for the V-2 engine. You have the liquid oxygen tank and the alcohol tank. You see, the V-2 only used these two propellants, and when they mixed and were ignited, provided a good thrust. So if you look up, you can just see how much of the rocket is taken up by the fuel tanks. Right above the fins, all the way up almost to the top of the rocket, is just the fuel tank to get it to go at most 150 miles. So if you look at the rocket itself, you can see that it's kind of like warped and it's kind of like there's a lot of air bubbles in it. It actually is made of multiple V-2s, around 3 I think. And after all the transportation it's undergone, you can see all these like bubbles inside of it, and that is probably because of just how much wear and tear it's been touched. It's pretty cool, honestly. And it's actually painted as the original V-2s were tested in 1942. It was painted in this black and white configuration so it would be easy to follow and see with the naked eye and on camera. So now I will take you up to the second floor and we can get a good look at the top of the rocket. So now I am standing halfway up the rocket and right next to one of the fuel tanks. And it's kind of bubbly and kind of warped, but if you look up just a bit, you can see a smooth section of the rocket. If you can see that, that is where the warhead would have been held. Either 1,000 or like 2,000 pound warhead, which is pretty incredible. And the whole rocket is about 14 meters tall, which is pretty tall for literally the first rocket ever to reach space. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and please click the subscribe button and maybe check out my other content. Have a great day. Our mission is to make you space intelligent.